Today I'm on the hunt for the best lumbar support for your car. I've bought 4 different models so that we can compare and contrast to figure out which one's the right one for you and for me. We'll start with what I termed the basic. And you can see, like with the indentions, that it is a memory foam. This one is, in my opinion, the most comfortable one out of all 4. And then this one we call the Dreamer. It is the most designed for the car, I think. One downside to it worth mentioning now is that it advertises that it's so breathable that you won't develop any back sweat in the low back. And I actually found that I still built it up. Granted, I live in Texas with 105-degree weather from time to time. So even with the AC on, I still developed some back sweat. So don't put too much stock into that. With this one, this is the RS13. It's so small, I wouldn't think that it would be as much of an issue with this one. And with this one, it's the mesh material, so it's very breathable. It's not quite as comfortable as these, but it does provide the support that you need while also allowing for the breathability. So they all have their pros and cons. And so yeah, let's head out to the car and let's figure out which one's the best. Here we have the basic. This one is my favorite out of all the 4. But I would say that come with some caveats. First off, it doesn't really seem to be made for cars. You see how the straps, this is at its loosest setting and it's still digging into the car seat. And I cannot justify doing that to my car seat. That will depreciate the resale value over time, and I'm not going to do that for a $20 lumbar support, but I can do without those, so let's take those off. So here it is without the straps on, and it fits in there pretty good. The major downside to this one is that if I don't have my hands on the steering wheel, then it tends to push me forward into like a slouched position. And that's uncomfortable. If I'm having to either push or if my erectors are having to stay active in order to keep me erect, then that's just going to tire me out, and you know that's not what I signed up for. I want something that is comfortable for me to sit in. One thing to note is that if you feel it supporting the back of your ribs, then that's not really what it's supposed to be doing. The ribs are the thoracic, not the lumbar. So if it's up on the ribs, like bring it down a little bit. And now we have the Dream car. This one seems to actually be made for the car seat. As you can see, it goes up and around the headrest, and this one comes down underneath the fabric, so it's not going to screw up the upholstery. While sitting in it, I run into the same issue as the basic. It pushes me forward, and so I have to have my hands on the steering wheel in order to keep me back, and it's uncomfortable and it's tiring over a while. This one and the basic are memory foam, or at least they feel that way, so they're comfortable on the back in that respect, but it's just, unfortunately, it pushes you forwards. And then also with this one, I find that I'm actually like bouncing side to side more so, and it feels unstable. The basic and the next one, the mesh one, actually provide more of a sideways stabilization, which I really enjoy. So this one's definitely a no-go for me. And also, one of the main downsides to the basic and the Dreamer that I have right here is it pushes me forward so that my head and my upper back are not on the car seat anymore. Like, in order to make contact with the headrest, I have to come back like probably about 5 inches. And so I'm going to be like a Pez dispenser if I want to actually use the headrest. And so not only is it uncomfortable, but I feel like it might be a hazard. You know, if somebody rear ends you, then your head is going to go way back before it actually hits the headrest. So that part right there worries me. And now we have the mesh one. This one seemed to provide the best support
However, it's not memory foam, and so therefore it's rather rigid. It was the most uncomfortable out of all the four, and so that part's unfortunate. Also, you can see right here the ridges are very sturdy, so they'll actually push into the car seat, and so I just have a feeling that's eventually going to cause indentions into the upholstery, so I just can't justify keeping this one on. That said, it did seem to do the job, so if you're in dire need, it will provide back support. With some people, if there is a indent right here, then it can actually like kind of slide underneath and make it to where it doesn't even work. But for the most part, you'll want it like kind of up about 2 inches off the bottom of the seat in order for it to actually hit your lumbar. So that really shouldn't be an issue. And then you can see right here, these are the little buckles that you can either loosen or tighten. But what's weird is, like, you know, here it is, it's loose and I can't get it to go any straighter. So it's limited as to how customizable it actually is. Now with this one, I don't have the problem of my head being off of the headrest. So it's a little safer. It does help the lumbar region, and I would say for the most part, this one is the most effective out of all the four, but the fact that it damages my upholstery just rubs me the wrong way. Lastly, we have the RS13. This one, it was just uncomfortable for me. I did not enjoy it. It provided a little bit of support, and you could see here it does have a strap, but you run into the same issue of it pulling on the car seat. So this will eventually wear down the upholstery. And also, this is as loose as the strap can get. So it's just, it's not worth it in my opinion. I would have to use it without the strap, and that would mean that I would have to push it into position every time. It's hard to get into position. I feel myself just like scooching around and just trying to get comfortable and never actually getting there. So this one is just a quick no for me. It does provide a little bit of support, but it's just not worth it to me. One good thing about this one though is it will not take the head away from the headrest. So it's not dangerous like the first two, but it doesn't provide as much relief. And also with this one, you don't have to worry about the side-to-side stabilization.
So all four of these are so awkward and uncomfortable compared to the built-in version that was in my 2015 Ford Escape that I'm opting for nothing right now. So with that, I've been doing this for about 6 months. I haven't had any lumbar support and I don't have any back pain. So just doing those stretches that I show you and sitting properly is actually enough. You can see that this right here is the natural lumbar curve. It has a bit of an anterior curve starting right around the end of the ribs. And so what typically happens is when people get in the car, they tend to slouch. And so when you come right here, this starts to dip in. If this was a more mobile skeleton, you would see this start to straighten. And when it straightens, it starts to strain the ligaments. It starts to create a situation in which more herniated discs will start happening. In order to combat that, we get something to sit right here so that even if you do start to slouch, you still have the curve. Because I was unable to find a good lumbar support, I actually just started sitting properly. So to go from slouching to actually sitting up properly will come here. And so that seems like, you know, yes, I have it all the way back, but that would still allow for back pain because it's still not quite proper. So even though your tailbone is all the way back, that's not quite it. You need to get these sit bones all the way back as well. And once those are back, then that actually allows for that front curve as the thoracic comes back. So the main thing is, like, you know, if you have your butt cheeks and they're kind of folded under, like, actually move the cheeks up and out of the way so that you can get everything properly on the sit bones. What do you think? Is this good posture?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So the main cause of low back pain that I see in my practice is something called anterior hip rotation. It's also known as lower cross syndrome. And what happens is your hips, normally they're and more kind of like a bowl. It's facing in a way to where it doesn't spill. And anterior hip rotation is to where the bowl starts to, if this is your abdomen, this is your back, then it starts to spill forward. And that's caused by low back muscles that are pulling the pelvis up in the back. And then you have weak abdominals here and then tight hip flexors down here that are pulling it forward from the front. So you have both of those working in conjunction to create that. So what we need to do in order to keep that, I mean, you can do some lumbar support, that helps, but what's also useful is stretching out the hip flexors to take that anterior force out of the equation, and then also stretch out the low back in order to take that one out. Once you take care of both of those, it should realign. You can also strengthen the abdominals. That'll help a lot too. So in order to take care of the hip flexors, the most common stretch is simply coming on one knee, coming a little bit past into more of a obtuse angle, and then just stretching forward. The one thing you want to make sure that you don't do is let it dip in, and that causes pinch your low back. You don't want to do that. You want to keep your abdominals tight, stay very straight and erect, and then dip forward into it. You should feel the stretch right here on the hip flexors. Cool. And so just do that once or twice a day, especially whenever you're done with working in front of the computer all day long, or if you have a 4-hour drive, stop and do that stretch for every 2 hours or so. That'll keep the hip flexors from being too short whenever you finally get up. And then so for the low back, easy peasy. Just stretch forward like so. Keep your head down so that you stretch the entire erector group, and just grab and pull. If you can't reach the toes, reach the ankles. It's totally fine. Simple stuff, very simple, but crucial. So don't let the simplicity fool you. So if you are interested in buying any of these, then there are links in the description. If you want more information like this, if you're looking for healthy lifestyle guidance, you can follow me there. And other than that, hope you have a great day. Cheers.